Welcome back to our midday broadcast of Expresso. Normally I would say a very feel-good edition, but today I'm going to ask you to think very critically about the society that we live in, and hopefully through all of this we will be able to find a story of hope, yes, but an opportunity now for us to come face to face with this broken society that we live in, where gender-based violence is not only rearing its ugly head, but unfortunately has become the norm, where it no longer jolts us to hear stories of innocent children being sexually assaulted. That's the fact. We have been worn down, desensitized by what we see in the media. But our children's stories do matter. And today we are joined in studio by Lynn Kirchhoff, who describes herself as a wife, a mother, a warrior woman, and a survivor of sexual assault. She's written a very brave autobiography about her traumatic sexual assault as a child titled My Shack. Just the title terrifies me, and she joins us to tell us more about this. I think both you and I are doing our best to smile and be happy, because I am extremely happy and very proud that we can offer a platform for you to be able to share this story. But I cannot tear my eyes away from the cover of this book. Maybe that's where we should start this story. Take me back to that moment. What were you feeling then?
That moment, I sat in my grandparents' yard, actually, and I was playing in the sand, completely carefree, not a worry in the world. I think it was about 3 or 4, and it was probably one of the best times of my life. It's good to remember the good times as a child, and through telling the story of My Shack, I had discovered how important it is to go back into good memories all the time. It's part of the healing, it's part of the process. And so when I put it on the cover, I want people to know that that young girl, she was sexually abused, but she rose, and she's still standing.
When did you essentially say goodbye to that girl? When did it change?
It changed when I was 11 years old. Actually, we went to a family gathering. Should be a safe space. And it was an amazing evening. I went as a young 11-year-old girl, but I left that gathering as a broken young girl. I was sexually abused by a family member. While everybody was in the house and everybody was partying, he lured me to the back, and that's when it happened. And if there's one thing I can say about perpetrators, they are brilliant timekeepers. They know exactly when to strike. They know exactly what to do and how to do it. And so in the shack, and that's why I called it the shack, because that's where it happened, I can vividly remember feeling all sorts of sick. It's like an out-of-body experience. You see it happen, you feel it happen, but your body is so lame, and just the enormity of what is happening takes the little power that you have away. And you just wait till it's done, and you done, and you ruined, and you annihilated. And so that is what happened in My Shack.
As a father of 2 young children, both a boy and a girl, I am filled with absolute terror and fear at what could, and in this country is very likely to happen to them when we look at the statistics and how much this is prevalent. I look at you and I don't see a broken individual. I don't see half a human sitting in front of me. I see very much a complete person who has, through your own miracle, and I'm assuming a lifetime of grappling with this, come to a point where you can assimilate what's happened to you. How have you been able to do that?
I think the first thing was forgiving myself. I should have said no. Maybe it was my fault. I should have shouted. I should have, but I did not. I could not. And so you walk with that immense guilt of, maybe it was my fault. Maybe it was what I was wearing. Maybe I shouldn't have asked for the cool drink. And you know what? Once you acknowledge those feelings and once you forgive yourself, you can begin the journey of healing. we can go to psychologists and psychiatrists, and we can do all of those things, but it starts within yourself and within your soul. And when you're ready to acknowledge that, and then you can work with the truth.
I would imagine it's taken you a lifetime to get to a point to go back there, make yourself this vulnerable, to put your most vulnerable self even on the cover, to make that sort of statement. Why now? What has led you to this point, to being strong enough, brave enough to share your story?
Yeah, I don't know if you're ever strong enough. I think that you make yourself vulnerable. I think that I've come to a stage where I'm more courageous, and I look at the statistics. It's horrifying. You don't even need to listen to the news. You scroll on social media. And this happened to me many years ago, but there's still an increase. It's wrong. And I can't sit with a story of hope and not share it. I can't. I cannot do that. And so I'm willing to put my all out. This is my life. It's my life from 4 years old to date. We speak about how after your brokenness, you find love and you find intimacy and you enjoy life. I mean, I didn't ever think that after my shack experience that I'd have children, that I'd get married, but I've done all that. And that's why the subtitle says it's a story of hope. We can overcome. We really can. We have it within ourselves. We are resilient people. Just takes a long time to do that.
And possibly hearing the right words at the right time, and maybe this is that time for someone who's watching right now. I don't want to use the word lucky in your case, but
no, it's not luck.
You have gotten to a point now where you have been able to overcome this. What do you say to the young person, the old person, the person that hasn't been able to get to where you are right now, someone who has suffered abuse?
That your past does not have to dictate your future. Trauma has happened to many, many of us. It might not be sexual trauma, but trauma is a part of life. But trauma does not have to stop us from living. So many of us, we exist because that's what we must do. We go to work and we're good parents and we do what we must, but we don't truly live. And so I want to speak to the victims that progresses to a survivor. And from progressing to a survivor, you progress to an overcomer, because then you can stand. And of course, there are trigger moments. You don't just get over this and everything is okay. There's always trigger moments. But once you can acknowledge those trigger moments, you can move forward. Once you can acknowledge those trigger moments, you know that there's things that you can do. Reach out. I didn't reach out when I was 11. Probably my only regret, I was really scared. I'd felt that they were going to blame me. And so I walked with the story for a very long time. And I would urge any victims today to reach out. Please, my info is in the book, it's on the website. If anybody just wants to chat, because sometimes it helps to chat to random strangers.
To someone who's got that perspective. I would say the first step, get your hands on this book and just take that first step.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being brave enough to do this and for being brave enough to come onto the show and talk about this. I think we are going to be thinking about this for a very, very long time. But of course, that's just the beginning. You can read her story in more detail in her autobiography titled My Shack, coming out November the 13th. It'll take you on a journey of how good triumphs over evil, joy replaces sorrow, and how despite it all, there is always hope. We're also giving away 3 copies of My Shack, so go onto our Facebook post and let us know what book has helped you heal from past trauma, and you can find all the terms and conditions on expressoshow.com. We'll return with more stories of trauma, yes, but also of hope triumphing in the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.